Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I've said this before, that we all have something to heal from. And if you hear that and say, not me, I'm going to go on a limb here. I don't even think it's a limb, and say, you're wrong. You probably do. And it's something from your past. We've talked about that before in past episodes with Patti. And now we're going to talk about the 5 steps to beginning your healing journey from those traumas or whatever it has been in your past. And she is a licensed massage therapist, life coach, speaker, and so much more. Survivor as well. She works with women and young teens moving their lives forward. And it's so great to have her back with us. Patti McGee is on the program. Hi, Patti. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. I'm doing wonderful. Every day we get on this earth, as you said, I'm a cancer survivor of 20 years. And, it's so appreciative to have those 20 years. I've gotten to do more than a lot of other cancer patients. I've helped many transition from this earth to their earthly home, whatever they believed in. And I never understood the importance of it until as I've done my own healing.
I'm going to pick for just a moment, and we're going to get into the 5 steps in a second, but having gone myself through, not major cancer issues, but certainly different types of meds, certain type of chemo over the years, radiation, surgeries. Again, I'm blessed that it wasn't extensive compared to even yourself and many others. But do you take a look at your 20 years, the journey and everything, and think to yourself, how the hell did I get through that? And wow, I did. When you think of all the steps and all the treatments and all the anguish and all the anxiety and all of that, and you look back and do you say to yourself, whoa, wow, I freaking did that. And I'm here. You feel that way?
I all the time. Some people believe in God, some believe in spirituality, some have their own faiths. But for me, I didn't have God in my life prior to 10 years ago. Okay. I mean, I would run to church when I did something wrong and confess my sins and then leave. And then, if I did something else, I'd run back. Mm-hmm. But when I had COVID in 2021, was it, I think? I laid here. I wouldn't go to the hospital. And I just said, Lord, why did you save me all of these years from the whooping cough, from the night that I got drunk and passed out and had sex and passed out on the train tracks and somebody found me and brought me home. I could have been run over by a train. From all the times I drove drunk and didn't hurt somebody else, didn't get a DWI, and didn't hurt myself. I mean, I woke up on the edge of the cliffs, just, ready to go over, and I got woken up, from breast cancer, having my son as a single mom. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm like, why me? There's so many more deserving people that died earlier that committed their lives to greater works. You know what I mean? But the cancer diagnosis changed me. And so
was that, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you're at that point, was that hello, Patti?
Yes.
Wow. And was that call it the end, but the beginning, the end of things that you were dealing with in your life there, and now the beginning of maybe a new life? You had to go through the cancer treatment and all of that, but a new beginning essentially.
Yes.
You didn't see it that way at that time, but
oh no, not at all. It wasn't until I went through chemo and radiation, and I said to my oncologist, what can I do so I never have to go through this again? And she said, nothing. It was a fluke thing. I was 39 years old. I was technically healthy, but I knew internally I hated myself for 37 years. And I'm not even a bad person. You could say, oh, Patti, you're so nice. But when you would say that to me, internally, I would go, yeah, but you don't know the real me. You don't know the person that did this and did this and did this and did this. And when she said that to me, I was like, no, I know what I have to change. And it starts inside. And that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And
I
which
don't
has
think
led me on
at,
this journey.
at that moment when you got the diagnosis and a different
Uh,
journey began, I don't think it mattered about your past. Now that was your past, now you got your future to forge forward on. Um,
yes.
but yeah, it's remarkable when we think of what we're capable of. We don't see it at the moment, but when you look back at it, and it looks like this slice of your life when at the time it was this slice of your life.
Yeah.
Um, again, you know, my situation not nearly even close, but it was a year ago. I'm looking at the date, like OMG, like my face looked like it was on Pete. My face was dripping off me on
Really?
fire. Yeah, and you can't even tell. But at the time, I made that decision, my own fault. I let it go, and I had a beard. You couldn't really see it, so I'm like, this side out of mine. Had been dealing with 3 years. This one won't be that bad. Until I said, yeah, this one's actually pretty bad, and surgery is just going to be so invasive. And my daughter worked with patients that have skin cancer and radiation, and everything else. She goes, Dad, why don't you do that? I'm like, you can do that, and I had no idea and went through it. But as I'm going through it, laying on the table, it's like, how did I get here? And, what's this going to be like? And, but now I look back and it's like a blip,
Yeah.
it's in the past. It's not forgotten, but it's in the past, and that's just one thing of, like all of us, many different things in our past.
Right. And the key is, like you said, it's not forgotten. And never that thought never goes away. But how we handle it and how we move forward is what's important.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
with any type of incident in our life. I don't want to say trauma because there's some people out there that have had so much trauma. You take Brittany Griner, who was in a prison, cold, couldn't eat, had to do labor. That's I can't say it's nothing compared to what I went through, but in my eyes, what I went through really is nothing.
Yeah.
I wasn't detained somewhere where sleeping on a dirt floor or whatever. Or you take anybody that's been to war and has flashbacks constantly. Those things really need, more therapy than what a life coach provides. We help people move forward in their life to this healing journey of who they are and who they want to become.
And we've identified a lot of this in past episodes. 5 steps to beginning the healing journey. Let's go there. I don't know if you want to start it. Is there any
Yeah,
particular order on these?
for me, yes, yeah.
Okay.
I've put them in order, but this can be a daunting journey, especially in the beginning, because you always want to go back to your old habits because it takes the pain away.
Yeah.
So for me, alcohol, that I drank it to hide who I didn't like, you know. But then I was realized, I'm writing a book right now about my journey, and as I'm going through everything, I reached out to my spiritual counselor, and I'm like, how could one person make so many dumb decisions in life? But when you're
Mm.
not whole, you do.
Yeah.
You do. And moving forward is the key. So the first one is acknowledging and accepting your pain. Okay. Um, which is very difficult because we want to bury it. We don't want to regurgitate it. We don't want to go through it and vomit it up all the time. But it's important to recognize that and know that it's valid and it deserves to be addressed.
How do you, and I'm gonna dig a little deeper here. How do you acknowledge it but not let it hurt you?
By acknowledging it, so when we cease the writhing in it and begin resting about it, okay, we begin like the cleansing of our mind, our body, and our spirit, our soul, okay. um, for me, it was acknowledging that I had to deal with my self-hatred. So I was starting to look for things that could help me with that. And it's funny because I got out what really helped me. The first thing I turned to was Tony Robbins, the Get the Edge, The Purpose of Life.
Hmm.
And these CDs, I had them in my car. It was back when CDs were in cars, you could CD players. And I would drive back and forth to work, and all the time I was just listening and listening and listening. And when I couldn't sleep during the chemo and the radiation and the post-cancer drugs, I was on this program called The Next Big Idea with Donnie Deutsch.
Mm-hmm.
There's some old seasons out there that you can watch of his, but he had people like Susie Orman, Tony Robbins, Paul Mitchell. And if you ever want to listen to some good overcoming stories,
Wow.
Susie Orman to me has the best one. She got scammed out of $40,000 that she didn't even own. And she went and worked for this financial company that scammed her, got the money back with interest. She never went to school to be this financial wizard that she is. Okay, so it's all about acknowledging and accepting it and seeking out these things that help you. And what I mean by that is, like, you may not be into God or anything, but the Bible's a good resource. You can read stories of people that have overcome. And what you do is you take and you filter it. So any information, okay, I've got 3 bookshelves in my house full of books, and they're of all different kinds. Okay, meditation, yoga, how to communicate, how to overcome whatever, teamwork, everything. And you pull the pieces that fit for you. And when you're done with it, you set the rest aside and you say, okay, this is what's helping me right now. And you work with that until you're ready for the next step. So it helps you through that initial pain and acceptance.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting that you say that, Patty. Looking at the Bible, if you're not very religious, it's a book of inspiration. And like you
Yes.
said, believe what you want to believe, put it through your filter. At the very least, there's inspiring stories in there. Whether you want to believe they're true or not, that's your choice.
Yep.
But wow. And
But it's what you take from it. And a good example I'm going to tell you is I'm reading the book of Acts right now. Okay, so say there's 6,000 words in the book of Acts. 2 words stood out of me in the whole book, and it was unusual wisdom. And why I resonated, it's about the story of Joseph, that God gave him unusual wisdom. And it gave me the key to why I am and how I speak, because I have unusual wisdom. So it was like a confirmation for me that of where that comes from. That I'm not odd. I'm not some freak somewhere. I have been given unusual wisdom to help people see life another way.
how would you, in a sentence, define unusual wisdom?
It's these thoughts and processes that you go through, that things just come to you. Simpler solutions come to you without having to fight through them. Okay.
Okay. And certain categories, like, for example, what we're talking about now, um, connecting with people, helping people. You might not have unusual wisdom when it comes to the mechanical or electrical system of your car. You know,
Correct.
you're on the side of the road. I wish I had unusual wisdom to fix this so I can get the heck out of here. Uh,
Right.
it's category specific. That's what I'm getting
Right.
from.
But the unusual wisdom may come from all of a sudden, oh, wait, let me call so and so. They do. It's just that, a good example for me is I had a client and she was homeschooling her kids. And she's like, I struggle to teach them social studies. And I'm like, she goes, I don't know what to do. I said, who do you know that's good at social studies? She goes, well, my husband is. I said, then why don't you ask him to teach it? Well, he works well, you don't think he has to partake in this? I said, I knew him, so he had 2 days off a week from what his profession is. And she went home and she's like, do you think you could teach the kids on your day off this one class? He's like, I'd love to. But she was stressing it. She was trying to take it all on herself. So the unusual wisdom I gave her
Mm.
to ask her husband, rather than her say, oh, this is my role, I'm the mother, that's how she was seeing it through her lens.
And maybe protecting him in such, he's got a lot going on. I don't want to bother him with it. That's my role. I'm going to take care of it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of life coaches call it unusual wisdom because they look at things through a different lens, a different direction, things that the rest of us don't see. And it could even be just a thought, just a quick thought that's like, oh, wait a minute, game changer for me there.
Yep.
So, all right. So acknowledge.
And you have it.
I think I did.
In what we talk about. You're so good at communicating back and forth and adding in. And
I don't even know I'm doing it, Patti. I don't even,
That's the unusual wisdom. You don't know you're doing it.
And
but you're not second guessing it. You're not sitting here saying,
no,
I don't want to talk to Patti. I can't, you dive right in. And
it's like, I don't even question it because it's just thoughts that I have where I'm asking what I think somebody watching or is listening might want to know. But I'll be honest with you. Been doing broadcasting literally since I was 17, got my first paycheck. And I've interviewed everybody, in all different capacities. In this capacity, where it's self-empowerment, metaphysical, all of that arena, I didn't know I was so passionate about it until I started doing it. And the universe exposed me to this many years ago, and I never jumped into it. I skimmed the surface of it, but I didn't dive into the water. And then when I did, I was like, wow, you know what? Yeah, I find this interesting. Listen, I feel like I'm in therapy like 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning and everybody else is.
Right. But you filter out when you leave, right? You filter out what they tell you, and you might go try some of the stuff.
Right.
And then the rest you don't.
Or I pass it on to others.
Yes.
I pass it on to others. Yeah. So step 5 is acknowledge. Step one
is acknowledge. Step 2 is identify your triggers. And this can be hard. Okay. This can be tricky. And I suggest you write them down so that you really recognize what's triggering it. Okay. Because there's emotional pain attached to those. Whether it's your father saying something to you or your spouse or, and it helps you understand and react in different ways once you understand that it's a trigger. When I quit drinking 10 years ago, it'll be 2 weeks, 10 years ago.
Wow.
All the anxieties that I buried through the alcohol that I coped with came out. And I had to write them down. I had to fight through them. And that's what got me into counseling and spiritual counseling. Regular counseling did nothing for me, but spiritual counseling, because I knew it was inside.
Wow. Congrats on the 10-year mark.
Thanks.
Coming up.
Now I've had drinks since then. Since I moved down here to Georgia, I don't want anybody to think that, but for a good 6 years, I didn't drink at all. And I knew I had to mature.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had to come to that maturity that I could sit and have one drink, because I wasn't like a daily alcoholic that, I had to wake up and have alcohol and all of that. I've done such deep healing that now I can go and enjoy a mimosa with my son on Mother's Day, So I don't want anybody to think that I'm a false teacher or prophet of anything like that. But I had to identify those triggers so I could mature.
Well, you came to grips with it. You did step 1, acknowledging it. And I want to make sure we hit all of these. Got a few minutes left here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, it just speeds by. Final question on number 2.
Yeah.
If we don't know all of our triggers, is that something that you can help with? At least identify more of them?
Yes. We could take it one at a time and get to the root causes.
Gotcha.
And I have this tree that I have that has all of these emotions and stuff, and I ask you to rate yourself on them. And then we pick one and we work through it.
Would you say, all right, so this is the final question because I got to find out.
Oh, no.
For the most part, when you look at the triggers, is it usually one central situation, like your parents, your father, maybe it's your mother, a lot of like call it a tree and it comes
It's
up.
it's a combination.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Awesome.
for me, mine was just me getting drunk, having sex, getting caught, and my dad running by me. So it was that instance, but then it was my dad not loving me. I didn't feel worthy of his support and care. So
Yep, I got, and you know what? I got you, and I relate to that.
yeah,
I really do.
The
Sure.
third one's practice self-compassion. Be kind, compassionate to yourself, and don't distort the truth, because we do that to make ourselves feel better. Acknowledge it and learn to deal with it. Work through it. Like I said, I started with the Tony Robbins CDs. And then the fourth one is engage in healing practices. Okay. I'm more spiritual than anything. I believe in yoga. I believe in meditation. Anything that will help you get through these situations other than a coping mechanism that's unhealthy, because I've lived that side of it. Therapy. And that's the last one, seek support. I started with a licensed counselor, but found that spiritual counseling helped me. And the thing we need to remember with seeking support is it's not a one and done. Okay, I've been 10 years with a spiritual counselor, but what we do is we work through an area and then I go and process it. It might be months, it might be years. And then I go back. I say, oh, okay, something came up just last week about that night when I was 13 and got drunk, had sex, and smoked cigarettes. I had a breakthrough just 2 weeks ago from that night.
Yeah.
But I was able to heal it or feel it so much easier and acknowledge it than I would have 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Did you find a lot of that stuff you buried?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do. And then it comes out in life. You get to the point that you don't want to live the life you're living anymore. You don't want to tell yourself those lies that it's all okay. And there's more to life.
On step 4, some of those things that we talk about to take the steps to healing, it can be, I don't want to say as simple as, but even journaling, writing down your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, but caution, it's going to take time.
Yes.
You can't think, it's been 3 days now and I've been writing things down. I've been writing, the gratitude part of my life, what I'm grateful for. I don't feel any different. It'd take a while.
Keep going. Yep. Keep going. And you'll find it. It's more dying to your ego. Okay. When you're in that writhing pain and you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I just can't do this again. I got to have that drink, or I got to have that drug, or I got to have that whatever coping mechanism. If you can curl up in a ball and fight through it, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, whatever it takes, go find something else to do. Go exercise, put a piece of gum in your mouth, just something, and write down how you're feeling and be proud of how you made it through it. And if you had to go back, don't beat yourself up. Take that next step.
Somebody told me, oh gosh, must be like 18 years ago, pinnacle point in my life, career connected. And I said to him, he's very insightful, very, very intuitive. And I said, well, what am I going to do now? Like, look at this situation. What do I do? And he was familiar with it. And he said, when you are at your lowest point, you are most humble.
Yep. Yeah.
So your ego goes away, and it's now I'm ready to receive, or maybe to take action on some of the steps that we talked about. And that's what you do. I mean, you are step 5 essentially.
Yes.
And also step 4 and all the other steps there.
Well, because you have to go through those first 4 to get to us.
Right.
Okay, because you've hit that wall. When you've practiced the self-compassion, you've engaged in all the healing practices that you can think of. Now you're like, I got to go further. Who can I reach out to?
Right. And you've acknowledged, yeah, I got stuff going on here. And like you just said, Patty, I don't want to do this anymore. This is just this is not it. I know there's more inside of me.
Yeah.
I need to find it, but I'm not really sure. And maybe it's right there, but this other stuff is in the way.
And and I just recommend a life coach. They can help you so much.
It's like another set of eyes that you're not gonna see. What's your website, Patty, to reach you?
The Hydrated Life, www.thehydratedlife.net. They can set up a clarity call and just see if we're a good fit.
Yeah. And when I hear the Hydrated Life, I think of drinking the positivity because it's there, but you got to take a drink first. And of only positivity in this situation.
I like that.
Yeah, it will support you and get you on the 5 steps, at least the path to the 5 steps. Yeah. Patty, great talking with you.
Me too.
Love the insight today and all good stuff. And it's stuff we all deal with. Again, right back to the beginning. If you think it's not you, it is. Sorry. Sorry to break it to you. Everybody's got different degrees of stuff going on, but we all do. Just admit it. There's step 1. Great having you on. I look forward next time we get a chance to
Okay. Talk to you next week. Thanks.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.